Let's be really clear. Diddy is not on trial right now because of the police, not because of the press, not because of the powerful men in suits who once called him a mogul or looked up to him like an icon. No, he is on trial because of one woman, Cassie Ventura. Surely you've heard of her by now. She's testified in his trial. So it wasn't a task force, not a Netflix docuseries exposing everything. One woman. She was only 19 when they met. He was in his mid-30s, I think like 35. She thought she was walking into this beautiful love story. Instead, what it became was more like a prison. And yet, nearly 2 decades later, she is the very reason we're even having this conversation about Diddy and his heinous history. You'll remember that the feds raided his home. Witnesses are now testifying in this criminal trial. Videos have surfaced, but none of that would be happening if Cassie hadn't filed a civil lawsuit back in 2023. A lawsuit that pulled back that curtain on what life was really like with Diddy. Not glamorous, as many people might have assumed, not filled with success and happiness, not empowering, to say the least, but abusive. There was coercion, surveillance, extreme control, sex trafficking, rape. These are all alleged, and Diddy has denied it all from the very beginning, but the details coming out in this trial so far are harrowing. The lawsuit that Cassie brought against Diddy was settled fast, like within 24 hours. That's how scared he was. That's how powerful her truth was, and how much he wanted to keep it from the public. But instead of going quiet and going away, Cassie kept going. And now, flash forward to May 2025, she's 8.5 months pregnant, testifying in front of a grand jury, walking through the darkest, most traumatic years of her life, while the man who inflicted that pain sits across from her, shaking his head, carrying a Bible. That's not just bravery, that's revolutionary. Cassie's legacy could have been about music, about dancing in mirrors and making hits. And honestly, it still can be, but this chapter is about something far more dangerous and far more sacred: telling the truth, even and especially when it's uncomfortable and scary. And telling the truth, that makes people uncomfortable, especially when the person telling it is a woman, especially when she's naming names, and especially when those names have power, money, and a carefully cultivated public image behind them. That's why this story matters. Not just because it's about Diddy, but because it's about what happens when someone decides that silence is no longer bearable. Okay, now let's talk about that for 1 second, because so many of us, women especially, have been taught to just shrink, to endure, to stay quiet at all costs, and to be polite always. I mean, we don't even want to upset our nail tech when she gets the shape wrong. We apologize to waiters when they mess up our order. We're terrified to ask our boss for a raise even when we've earned it 5 times over. Now, imagine standing up to a very wealthy person, to your abuser, to your ex, to someone who surveilled you, filmed you, hurt you in unimaginable ways. Now, imagine doing that in your 3rd trimester while the world watches and judges you. That's exactly what Cassie is doing. And the truth is, most women don't get that headline. Most women won't ever get that mic. But every day, in smaller, quieter ways, we're carrying versions of this same exact story. I think about all the times that I swallowed my own voice. All the rooms I sat in where I knew that something was wrong, but I didn't want to seem difficult. I was desperate to keep quiet and fit in. All the people I've wanted to expose, but didn't, because I didn't think anyone would care or believe me over them. And that's why Cassie's story cuts so deep. Because it reminds us, we weren't crazy. We're not crazy. We know exactly what is going on here. We were just conditioned to protect the powerful, to prioritize comfort over our safety, to preserve their reputation over our own peace. Cassie could have easily disappeared after that initial lawsuit. She didn't. She showed up again and again, pregnant in court saying, he did this to me. And I'm not going to let him pretend that he didn't. She did what no label exec, no prosecutor, no journalist had done in 20 plus years. She held him directly accountable. And if that's not heroic, I don't know what is. So wherever you are today, whatever you've been through, I hope Cassie reminds you that your story matters, that your voice is still there, that silence isn't the only way to survive. I'm not saying it's easy or safe or fair even, but I am saying this. If Cassie could do what she just did, maybe we can all speak just a little bit louder. Maybe it starts with telling the truth, first to ourselves, then to each other, and then with the world. I'm Alexi McCammond. This is In Sync. And this moment, it doesn't belong to Diddy. It belongs to her. Thanks for tuning in, guys. Make sure you subscribe, share with a friend, and I'll see you next week. Bye.